Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, beautiful souls and mystical beings. Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast. I'm Rachel Fiori, your host for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. I am excited to dive into our topic regarding being aware versus being awake. What is an awakened being versus being aware, and how to keep yourself safe from darkness, evil, from brainwashing, from cults, from demons, you name it. Anything evil and dark you can imagine. How do you protect yourself and keep yourself safe from being made a victim by, I can put all of them into a category of just darkness or evil. Okay. It's really critical to understand that in the awakening process, becoming aware of things doesn't mean you're awakening or you're awakened or you're enlightened, eventually an enlightened being. And what does that mean? It is so important to understand the differences in semantics, in language, in the words that we use. It is so important, way more important than what a lot of people give credit to or realize. Or somebody might be listening to this right now and be like, this sounds boring. I'm not going to listen to the rest of this podcast. I strongly encourage you to stay for this entire teaching, okay? Because it is so critically important. Understand what brainwashing is. It is brainwashing when you don't realize you're being brainwashed. You're not aware that you're being influenced, okay? Becoming aware that you are being brainwashed, influenced, what happens in our GOV. I can't say that big G word, or I get removed and banned and all the crazy shit that they do to me to prevent me from using my voice and teaching you all. So I'm going to go say the GOV. Becoming aware, oh my gosh, the level of brainwashing that happens in our world from the global elitists, the elite, the elites that run the world, that are cults that run the world, and that includes our own United States GOV. The people that are in these positions of power, you have to understand how well versed they are, how advanced they are in brainwashing masses of people, completely manipulating them and tricking them into following their rules, their regulations, their religion, their whatever it is they're brainwashing you with, while also tricking you, manipulating you, brainwashing you, convincing you into believing that what you stand for is the right thing. Let that sink in. Brainwashing is a tricky business, isn't it? And you, who have everybody in the world has been brainwashed until you start to truly awaken. You usually become aware and then you start to awaken. So let's talk about the aware versus awake, because that's really important for your spiritual education. Okay. This is how you start to become the universal way of oneness, the way of wisdom, versus only living in knowledge. Just because you have knowledge does not mean you are awakened. It does not mean you are wise. It does not mean you have the power to change what you're aware about. Do you understand? So this is part of it. Becoming aware, let me give you an example. Becoming aware is that you start to become aware of the crazy things that you thought only existed in fantasy books, movies, TV shows, etc. Right? It's like, that's crazy. That doesn't exist. That's just fake. It's just for TV. It's just for the movies. It's just for whatever. And you start to become aware and realize, oh my gosh, everybody's brainwashed. Oh my gosh, we're all fed nothing but lies. Oh my gosh, what I thought was true and real isn't true and real. Oh my gosh, there are reptilians running our government. you know, oh my gosh, and I mean, the list could go on and on. I'm going to try not to give too many specific examples of the crazy that exist that are running our world, so that this doesn't get banned and taken down. And then you can receive the full teaching. So becoming aware of those things. Just because you're aware does not mean you are awakening or you are awake. Now, oftentimes becoming aware triggers people into fear, into panic, into holy shit, overwhelm, oh my God, WTF. And then you start to do the work to awaken. But just because you're aware does not mean you're awake. So what does that mean? Awakening is a path to enlightenment. Awakening means you are on a path to raising your level of consciousness. Now, a lot of you are like, well, yeah, I am. And a lot of you are. 100% you are. If you're listening to me, you likely are. If you're listening to me, other than some short clip on social media, if you truly listen to me, you are awakening. There's no question. If you are hearing me for the first time, you're like, oh, this is fucking crazy. You're not an awakening person at all. You're that third dimensional person who is still clueless and brainwashed. And that's not a judgment. You just are. And that's okay. You can choose whatever life path you want. That's fine. But awakening means I'm raising my level of consciousness. Okay. And raising my level of consciousness also has to be understood. Just because you're spiritual and aware of things does not mean you are raising your level of consciousness. Raising your level of consciousness, excuse me, and awakening are synonymous. So, to raise my level of consciousness, again, not the same as just being aware of shit. You're aware of spirituality. You're aware that everything is made of energy. You're aware that, the Vatican is one of the global leaders, cult leaders of the entire world. And so is Christianity and specifically Catholicism under Christianity. You're aware of these things. So you have knowledge. Knowledge is not wisdom. Wisdom is held with a person and flows through a person who is awakening for real. And that means true awakening, authentic awakening, is I have so much acute level of self-awareness. Remember, awareness is the first step. I have an acute level of self-awareness to where I understand every program that gets triggered and activated inside of me every second of every day. That means every inner child wound that I have that is not yet healed, every single trauma that is unhealed, not just aware of the trauma. Remember, we're shifting into awakening now. That I have the awareness in this moment that this person triggered me. Look at that. I'm triggered. I'm annoyed by this person. I'm frustrated. I'm sad. I'm in fear right now. Oh, I'm starting to feel a little bit of anxiety. When I feel these things, I have the self-awareness. This is flowing through me. The energy of anxiety is flowing through me right now. For example, there is a program of anxiety here. I know how to connect to that energy because it's just an energy. It isn't who I am. That's not the I am presence. It's me. It's an anxiety presence. How could they be the same? They're not. Let that sink in. There is an energy of, a frequency of, a program of anxiety running inside of me right now, trying to pretend to be me. That's not the I am presence. That isn't what I am. It's just an energy flowing through me. I am aware of that. What are the programs, the unhealed wounds that allowed the anxiety program to get activated? Why is the anxiety program still there? Why is it not fully alchemized? Why is it still there pretending to be you? An awakened being or an awakening being is in the process of seeing all of those connections, connecting the dots to all of that, understanding this person just annoyed me or triggered fear, or triggered anxiety. And now I get to do the inner work to see exactly what's flowing inside of me. What? Oh, that's an inner child who's 6 years old who got triggered in anxiety because I had no control over what my parent was doing in this moment. So anxiety started to get created inside of me because I was running a control program. Control program meaning I had no control, which made me feel weak and powerless. So look at the other programs that are running. I have no control. That's a type of control program, because whether I am over controlling or I have no control, that's a control program. Either side of the coin, it's still the same coin. Do you understand? Heads or tails is still the same coin. So that's a control program. I see that I'm running a control program. I'm starting to get anxiety because I have no control over what this person just did or said to me. That means what's next? You learn in the work at Masters of Self University in the coaching. We teach this to you step by step. Feel the energy of that, alchemize the energy of it. You learn that one step at a time. But you also learn to connect the dots. Well, I also am running a powerlessness program. I feel completely powerless. I feel completely weak. So there's control program running, there's anxiety program running, there's powerless program running, there's weakness program running. And you learn, I'm 6 years old in this moment, so you learn how to alchemize all of those programs at one time energetically. The inner child that is you is the one who actually does the alchemizing, because she or he is the one who is wounded and trapped in powerlessness, in weakness, in the control programs, in the anxiety programs. It is that 6-year-old. There's a fragmented off piece of you, energetic fragment of you, that exists as the unhealed, broken, wounded version of you, that is what gets activated and triggered in your everyday life when you are triggered by somebody or something. Do you understand? If all you are aware, awareness is always the first step. But if you're just aware, but you don't know how to energetically work with all of these subtle energies, then you can't heal yourself. This is what true healing is. And true awakening, raising your level of consciousness, becoming a more powerful you, a more divinely centered you, where, oh, look at this, the programs are running. I'm triggered in anxiety right now. And look at all these other programs running. And I'm 6 years old. 5 minutes, you can process all of that, alchemize it, and heal it when you master this. You can do it in less than 5 minutes when you master this work. When you first start doing this work, you might work on yourself 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, and you've healed several layers of it, but not all of it. That's fine. That's normal. That's learning. That's growing. That's elevating. That's expanding. That's awakening. Awakening means you're willing to be educated with wisdom. Okay. And you're becoming the wisdom that you're being educated with. This is critical, because this is learning how to work with subtle energies at such an elevated level. The level of, the energy of the vibrational frequency of fear feels similar, but different to anxiety. And one often triggers the other. Usually fear, you go into fear and that triggers anxiety. But something can trigger an anxiety program, which is an energetic frequency. Someone can trigger the energy of anxiety to flow through you, and then that starts to trigger the energy of fear. Those are two different frequencies now flowing through you. And you probably have 50 other ones, but I'm going to keep this simple. Okay. Because this is a free podcast. There's only so much time I have to teach you stuff here in this format. Okay. And this is why we have our coaching programs and all the things that we offer at Master Self University. But I want you to understand how this works. Fear program, anxiety program, those are two different frequencies. They are not the same exact frequency. It's why they have two different words to describe the two different things. They feel differently in your body. And if anybody's like, well, not to me, exactly, then you need our coaching program. Because how you are safe and protect yourself from being brainwashed, from being manipulated and joining some cult, from continuing to be manipulated and being a part of the global cult that runs the world, our country here in the United States, and many sectors across the entire world, from these global elites who, the US GOV is one of the worst ones that exist and is infiltrated in the worst way. I mean, this is one of the worst places that you're brainwashed and you're being run by a cult. anybody who thinks our elections with the two people that they put in front of you and our media and news stations act like there are only two people running for president when there's dozens. You have a lot of choices, people. There are third-party presidents running for president. There are a lot of choices to whom can take over as a leader of this country and change things. Not just two people that they constantly put in front of you. And again, this is never an insult, never an insult. This is never a judgment. But we're so brainwashed, dumb, and blind because of the brainwashing. The majority of the people that exist in this country still talk about the two options for president here that we can elect in 2024. There's way more options than just those two people. I happen to be an option. I'm an option. I'm running for president this year. But of course, you would never in your life know that if I didn't say it out loud. Right? This is what I'm trying to get across to you. That's still part of the propaganda. It's part of the brainwashing. It's part of what's put out in your face over and over and over again. And then you just believe that's true. When you learn the work that we teach at Masters of Self University, the stuff that I teach personally, when you learn this level of work, you are learning gradually over time how to work with each subtle energy that exists. Now, of course, there's literally an infinite number of subtle energies that exist. And in human form, you're not going to work with an infinite number, but you can learn how to work with thousands. And that means all of the frequencies that are introduced to us on a daily basis throughout your lifetime. And we start with the simplest ones, your mental programs, your emotional programs. And you learn, well, what's triggered and activated inside of me right now? And you learn how to feel the difference of those subtle energies. Feel the difference among them all. It is critical to learn this. This is true raising your level of consciousness. This is gaining wisdom, the way of wisdom. This is learning how to, I'm going to give you a simple example. If you put in front of you a piece of silk and a piece of yarn and a piece of satin and a piece of sandpaper, and you grabbed a random book off of your bookshelf, and you laid all these things in front of you, and you closed your eyes, and you just touched each one separately. And you spent 10 seconds just feeling what that piece of fabric or that object felt like. And you had your eyes closed and you couldn't see anything, but you could feel it. You could pick up a book and you could feel what it feels like on the outside, the texture of the book, how thick the book feels, how thick each page feels to you, what the texture of the pages are. You could flip the book like I'm doing now if you're watching me on YouTube. You could flip the book around and you could feel what this feels like. And then you pick up another object. I have a little remote control in my hand for my little fan in my office. And my eyes are closed and you could feel what the little buttons feel like on it. You could feel the size and the shape. Do you understand? It's so simple, right? You touch satin versus silk. They're similar, but they're also very different, aren't they? When you really feel the difference between the two, you're like, oh, wait, this one is satin and this one's silk. That's easy. You guys, energy, when you learn how to work with subtle energies work the same way. They work the same way. You learn how to feel all of the different energies that are present by just picking one or two at a time, because there are hundreds and hundreds that are present and being offered to you, and you have no awareness of it because we've been brainwashed. All this information has been kept from us growing up. Okay. That's why I'm offering it now. What you learn how to do is feel each individual subtle energies that are present. And you're like, wait a minute, there's something not right here. Wait a minute. And yes, in general, your intuition tells you something doesn't feel good here. Here's awakening versus aware. Because something might not feel good to you. Something's off here. I don't like this. I don't like what this person's saying. This is triggering me. This is whatever. You have to know the difference. A highly conscious being can say, oh, look at that. I'm being triggered by this person because my programs are running. This has nothing to do with her. My wounds are being triggered. I run programs of inequality, which means I run programs of feeling like somebody's superior to me and I'm inferior. I'm being triggered in my inferiority. I don't like how that feels. I am also then activated and running a wound, an inner child wound where I'm 3 years old and my father, blah, 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 did whatever. This is the critical importance and the genius of this work that we offer. Because in an instant, you can realize, oh my God, I'm being triggered. This doesn't feel good to me because I am wounded and I haven't healed this yet. And I need to take responsibility and heal this right here, right now. No more projecting my negativity, my shit, my unhealed traumas or wounds onto any other human, anyone in this world. That is an awakening being. First way of oneness is the way of responsibility. That's my responsibility to do that. It is my responsibility to learn that. It is also part of the way of wisdom to understand what is happening inside of me and why something feels off to me right now. It feels off because I'm broken and wounded and unhealed, and I'm a lower level of consciousness. And that, as the way of truth, is the goddamn truth. And I need to heal my shit. And this person is nothing but a mirror in front of me, teaching me and showing me and triggering the shit out of me so that I heal myself. That's example number one. And you have to know the difference between that which I run within myself versus this person. Oh my God, I follow them. I've been listening to them. I thought they were great. I can tell that they are speaking truths, the way of truth. There's some truth there. But remember, I've given podcast episodes in the past. What is the easiest way to brainwash you? What is the easiest way to manipulate you and trick you into joining some cult? They always give you truth. Evil and darkness always gives you truth. In the way of wisdom, you becoming the way of wisdom and the way of responsibility and the other ways of oneness, of course, you becoming those ways, start to see, oh my God, this particular person, this man that I've been following, for example, oh, he's a spiritual person. And I've been following him and I listen to his podcast and I watch him on social media and I go to his live events and blah, 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 blah. And he's always speaking these wise words and truth. And he's very spiritual and I'm going to follow him. And then all of a sudden you notice that throughout much of what he offers is rooted in sex and sexuality. Isn't that interesting? And then, but that's all spewed out there. Isn't that supposed to be your connection to God and all the other fucking bullshit that people feed you and you believe it? And then all of a sudden there's, oh, here we are celebrating my partner's birthday or my, whatever we're doing. And the person's dressed up like wearing a devil mask. And here you are like, oh, interesting. Oh, I guess this is just a part of, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now. You're fucking manipulated and brainwashed. You guys, the people who are planted to manipulate you and brainwash you and lead you in the wrong direction, they first make it seem like they're leading you in the right direction. That's how brainwashing and manipulation works. Think about on a smaller scale just how a narcissist works. All of you who have been in relationships, romantic relationships with narcissists. Think about how it works. They love bomb you first. They seem like the greatest person in the world at first. They're attentive, they're sweet, they're charming, they're loving, they're affectionate. They're all the things at first. And then what starts to happen? There's the put down. There's the criticism. There's the, making you feel like you're the problem. So the gaslighting starts. Do you understand? If they did that day one, how many of you would be powerless, weak, and pathetic enough to keep dating. Now, some people are just that unhealed. That's never a judgment. Some people really are that broken. They've been that traumatized that if someone on day one, on a first date, put them down, they'd keep hanging out with them instead of standing up for themselves and setting an appropriate boundary. Okay, some people. How many of you, though, on date number one with somebody, they're nasty, they criticize you, they put you down, you're going to sit there and put up with it the whole date and then keep dating them? How many of you? I mean, come on. They don't do that at first. They win you over. They love bomb you. They do all the things. They make you fall in love with them because they're manipulating you. Now, how do you think the elites and all these plants all over the place that are spiritual guru, they call themselves gurus, and they're spiritual influencers that have millions and millions and millions of followers, and you guys think these people are great, and then they wear fucking costumes that are like represent Satan and the devil and the hello. They just sneak those things in there. They just add those things in. And then they talk about these spiritual teachings and oneness and awakening and Christ consciousness. And then you're like, oh, yeah, right? Yeah, he's okay. That's how they fucking get you. So how the hell do you know the difference? And here's the problem. People want to know, oh my God, I don't know who to trust. How the hell do I know the difference? This one, because they always give you a percentage of truth. 100% of the time, they're giving you some degree of truth. 25% of the truth, meaning divine truth, universal truth. Sometimes 90% of the truth. They'll do that love bombing. They'll be giving you 90% of truth, and then they just drop in little drips of poison, little drips of manipulation that you're like, okay, but whatever. Right? This is how these organizations work. This is how these people work. And I'm simplifying things. Okay? There's write it in the comments, by the way, because I'm very seriously considering creating an entire digital course breaking down how cults work and how the global elites work and what they do and how they do it, so that you can protect yourself and be aware and realize what's happening. So there's a very good chance I'm going to create a course that you can move through, at Masters of Self University to help you with this kind of thing. So if you're listening to this and you really would like an actual course broken down for you that you can move through, comment below, because if there's enough comments below, then I'll create the course. Anyway, just to continue, and this is going to be a shorter one. I'm not going to go too much longer with this, but I do want you to understand something. That as you are hearing and understanding on an intellectual level, at the level of your mind, that this is how things work. This is how evil works. This is how they manipulate you, how they brainwash you, how they trick you into joining their church, their religion, their cult, their spiritual, whatever the fuck, when really it's nothing but a mask and it's a lot of satanic worship, and they're harboring your life force energy and tricking you into contributing and offering and consenting to it, because evil and darkness can't do anything to you if you don't consent to it. That is key. And I will, if you're interested in actually having a digital course and me breaking this down, how consent works, because this is a tricky topic. Oh, well, I just don't consent. Oh, you wish it were that easy. That is not how it works. They trick you and manipulate you into consenting all along the way, and you have no idea that you're consenting. If you were completely aware of all these subtle energies and how they work, and you could feel subtle energies, you could feel, remember my example, pick up the silk versus the satin versus the piece of yarn, feel it. What does it feel like? You can feel the energy suddenly of manipulation. Your mind will never know the difference and be the way of wisdom. Your mind sometimes is right, sometimes wrong. Sometimes your mind's fucking crazy. Your mind projects all your programs onto things that some people you should be trusting and listening to and learning from. You're like, oh, I can't trust that person. That's the one you should be listening to, but your mind tells you otherwise because your broken and unhealed and wounded and have your traumas. Do you see that this is a little complex? That you have to have first the awareness, but just being aware does not mean you're elevated enough to truly tell the difference. Because an awakening person, a person raising their level of consciousness authentically, truly awakening, they know how to work with subtle energies. You learn that along the way, that there's manipulation in this person right now. Versus, oh, I've heard this before. I watched the documentaries on cults. Oh my God, you sound like a cult leader. Oh my God. The ignorance and the level of stupidity. That stuff's put out there to confuse everybody. It's part of the manipulation. It's part of the propaganda. So then you think you're learning what cult leaders sound like, but cult leaders always give you a percentage of the truth. So of course they're going to sound like actual, authentic, spiritual teachers and leaders of this world who are here to help you. It's done on purpose. So you can't tell the difference. That's what I want you to take away from this. So to tell the difference, you have to heal yourself. You have to understand what programs you run, mental programs, emotional programs, behavioral programs, and what causes those programs to get triggered and activated inside of you. You have to know how to work with subtle energies, connect to your divine self, the I am presence that you are, and use that I am presence, your soul, to alchemize and heal the programs and traumas and wounds that you still carry that shouldn't be there. They're not who you are. They don't need to be there. Stop with the bullshit of, but my attachment style is this. You shouldn't have an attachment style. You shouldn't be attached. Stop spending 6 months, a year, 3 years talking about your fucking attachment style, and instead heal the goddamn attachment style. That should never be a part of who you are. That's for you to realize, holy crap, I have this attachment style, which is a program. What wounding caused that program, that attachment style? How old are you energetically when that attachment style gets triggered and activated and you run it and project it onto somebody? Are you 9 years old? Are you 15? Are you 2? There is an unhealed aspect of you that is running a certain attachment style that is filled with weakness, powerlessness, a lack of divinity. You're literally disconnected from your divine soul in those moments when you run those behaviors. And that is what you learn, the way of connection, how to connect to your soul, the I am presence that you actually are, heal, love, nurture, using the vibrational frequencies of the universal ways of oneness, the way of compassion, the way of patience, the way of unconditional love, the way of harmlessness and gentleness, the way of wisdom. You are connecting to your power energetically, and you are expanding that power, and you're alchemizing what's there. The more you learn what programs you run, like sabotage, manipulation, lying, okay, and there's hundreds of them, you guys. The more you learn what programs you run, and I don't mean learn from the level of your mind, you feel the, oh my God, this is what it feels like when I am activated in my 9-year-old who learned how to be extraordinarily manipulative. This is the energy of manipulation. So guess what? As the way of wisdom that you are becoming, somebody is in front of you. They are behaving in the same way. You're triggered and activated because they're activating your own manipulation program. And now you identify that they are manipulative. Here's the same thing. Get ready. Somebody in front of you who would never in their lives be manipulative. It's triggering and activating your lack of ability to tell the truth at the level that that enlightened being in front of you is teaching you and role modeling for you. That triggers your manipulation program. Rewind that back and listen to that again. That will trigger your manipulation program. And then you project that, oh, you're manipulating. She's manipulative. When all you're doing is projecting your own manipulation. Why does that get triggered and activated? It gets triggered and activated in one of two ways. Number one, the person in front of you has the same manipulation program or very similar frequency to your manipulation frequency. Then it's going to trigger yours. Their manipulation program of a similar frequency, because there's several layers, several different frequencies and types of manipulation. I'm not going to go there. It's too complicated for just a podcast. This is a shit you learn if you enroll in Masters of Self University. Okay. So to keep it simple for a podcast, their manipulation program has to be within 3 octaves of your manipulation program that you run. The same triggers the same. It lets you know, oh, we're vibrating very similarly. We are activated. So it's going to trigger your manipulation program. Okay, that's example 1. Example 2 is the person in front of you is a very elevated, enlightened being who would never in their fucking lives manipulate you, because they don't have that in there. There's nothing of what I am. I don't exist as that. I don't offer that ever for any reason. I never would. I can't. It just isn't who I am. I can't offer that energy to you when that energy doesn't exist inside of me. Do you understand? However, what I can do and what I do as an enlightened, elevated being is, because I am the way of truth and the way of trust. But if you're a manipulative person, you're not. That means you're not the way of truth. You're not the way of trust. So guess what? In my presence, the way of truth, the frequency of the way of truth, the frequency of the way of trust is going to trigger and activate every program inside of you, every energetic frequency inside of you that is not that. And it's going to show you you're not the way of trust. And it's going to start to trigger and activate. That energy is going to come alive inside of you that lacks the way of truth or lacks the way of trust. So you'll get triggered by a being who's more elevated than you in that way, which is what activates and triggers, in this example, the manipulation program, but then also the projection program. So you'll now project, oh, they're like this. No, they're not. You are. How do you tell the difference between those two examples? You awaken. You do the self-work. Because when you learn this level of work, that is how evil and darkness and cults and brainwashing and the psychopaths of the world, the narcissists of the world, the evils of the world cannot trick you, manipulate you, and take advantage of you. You have to heal yourself, and you have to learn subtle energies to a much greater degree. Those are the 2 main things. Okay. You become the way of wisdom. Your mind, the level of your mind, cannot discern the difference between the examples I've given you today in this episode. The manipulator, the brainwasher, the cult leader in front of you, and then the truly elevated person. They can stand next to each other. And when you are unhealed and broken, guess where you're going to gravitate? You're going to gravitate to the fucking cult leader, to the brainwasher, because of the programs you run inside, because of the unhealed shit you have inside. You know where you'll stay away from? It's so interesting. This is how it works. You'll stay away from when you're unhealed. I'm talking about people who are very unhealed. They lack awareness. You'll actually move away from the true enlightened person in front of you oftentimes, or the very elevated person in front of you oftentimes. You know why? One of the number one things that brainwashing our cult leaders of the world instill is not just fear. I know a lot of you are like, fear. I know the answer. Fear. It's fear. Yes. But also what else? Powerlessness. Powerlessness is actually the number one thing, because you can't be in fear if you're powerful. It's powerlessness. And that triggers fear. When you feel powerless, that's where the fear comes in. So see how the brainwashers of the world will tell you a degree of truth? Many of you know that how people trick you and manipulate you and control the masses is through fear. Very true. Except that it goes deeper than that. It's actually through powerlessness, energetic powerlessness. Me feeling powerless to do anything about what's going on, me feeling powerless to prevent you or stop you from hurting me or doing something terrible to me, me feeling powerless is actually what activates and triggers the fear. It's the powerlessness that needs to be addressed and healed. You do that, the fear alchemizes with the transformation of the powerlessness. You get it? So when you connect to your power and you learn all of these things step by step and in phases, right? That's how you cannot be brainwashed. You can't be tricked. You can't be manipulated anymore because you can feel the subtle energies of what's coming from a person. So let me take it one step further. My example, they've got the cult leader in front of you, and then you've got this really elevated person right next to them, right? Both of them are right in front of you. When you are learning subtle energy, holy crap, look at that. I'm triggered. I go within myself and I see what's being activated within me, what programs are running, what wounds are activated, what unhealed anything I have, unhealed inner child wounds, traumas, etc. And then as the way of responsibility, I go in and I heal every one of them and I alchemize all of that energy and I transform it. And now I'm powerful and I'm light and I'm divine and powerful, powerful, powerful. And then as that, I am able to see, oh my God, this cult lead, I can now feel all the different energies. I can feel the truths that they offer because that's part of how they manipulate. Remember, I can feel the truths that they're speaking. I also feel all the other things that are there, the lying, the conniving energy, the energy of manipulation, the energy of all those energies, the lustful energy, okay, that they're grooming me because of what they plan on doing over time. I can feel the grooming energy. I can feel the superiority energy. And I've healed my inequality programs. I feel inferior to others who are more elevated than me, for example. You got to heal that shit. There is no elevated leader. Yes, there is a hierarchy in the sense that they're just in a higher grade than you. They've achieved more than you have so far. No different than being in 3rd grade versus 12th grade versus college versus a master's program. You're in different grades, guys. Who cares? That doesn't make anybody inferior or superior. That doesn't exist in truth. But we play that shit out. That's part of the brainwashing. That is part of the brainwashing. So you feel inferior, right? So you now can see the elevated power of somebody who truly is enlightened, this enlightened teacher versus the cult leader, okay, in this example. And you're no longer intimidated. You no longer feel powerless. Oh my God, it is okay that somebody's in a much higher grade than me. In fact, time to do backflips, time to celebrate because they're going to help rise me up because they've already achieved what I wish to achieve. They are here as my ally in oneness with me. That's why they are my teacher. Versus this person over there who wants me to stay small and subservient and follow them and worship them. A true teacher doesn't ever teach that to you. They let you know what grade you're in. How the hell could you ever go the next grade up, You don't even know what fucking grade you're in. Hello. This is the way of truth and the way of wisdom and the way of responsibility here. And once you know what grade you're in, oh my God, then I can master this grade and then I can elevate higher. Amazing. That's it. It's never about you are beneath me. Worship me because I'm superior to you and you can never achieve what I've achieved. It's bullshit. Okay. So that the truth that the power you have to heal, to elevate, to save yourself comes from within. It is internal and it is the eternal part of you. And that is what you learn how to access. And no matter what you access, no matter what spiritual gifts you have, no matter what psychic gifts you have, no matter what healing gifts you have, it doesn't mean you're awakened or awakening. Okay. Elevated, awakened beings do not use their gifts to manipulate, to have power or control over people like the elites of the world. You don't use your abilities for that. You use your abilities to empower people, to inspire people, to connect people and help them learn how to connect to their own divinity that they have, which is the same as your divinity. You're just in different grades. You just are currently in different grades. So if you fear being tricked and manipulated, This is where you start, is understanding what I've offered you today. Okay. And learning subtle energies. Guys, it's not good enough that you've got 19 certifications in energy modalities. That is not what I'm talking about. That doesn't mean you won't get wrapped up in some fucking cult. It doesn't. You have to understand the energies that are activated and running within a particular person. And then to translate that energy properly. I didn't mention that yet because, again, this is just a podcast episode. You know, these are things that have to be taught step by step by step by step. And then you master each step, just like you pass preschool and kindergarten and first grade. These are things that you learn along the way, step by step, and you elevate to different levels with what I'm offering, the, you know, basically the overview of. I'm keeping it simple for a reason. It's a podcast episode. All right. But you learn to master these things one level at a time. And then there's no such thing as you being manipulated. Like, and it doesn't mean nobody will ever change their mind or stab you in the back. Other people who are not awakening or awakened or highly, highly conscious can be totally in your energy field, a friend, a business partner, whatever, a romantic partner. And it doesn't mean they won't get tricked and pulled in by evil, by the bullshit on the internet, social media, everywhere, because there's just as much evil and darkness out there as there is light and truth and wisdom and wonderful divinity, right? It doesn't mean evil can't connect to other people around you and manipulate them. And suddenly somebody that you were able to trust so far along the way of your relationship, whether it's business, client, friend, you know, romantic partner, spouse, even, it doesn't mean that they will not get manipulated and then they stab you in the back and they turn on you. Oh my God, it happens all the fucking time. I wish to God I could say it didn't, but you know, I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I always am going to just tell you the truth. That's the truth. I think that's going to change very much so in the not too distant future because of everybody who is awakening. But for now, that's still very prevalent because evil and darkness can connect to the people around you and manipulate them because they're not doing the real work on themselves. So it doesn't mean that nothing negative will ever happen to you ever again in life. That's not what I'm teaching because that's ignorance if anybody believes that. It doesn't mean you could never be manipulated in the sense that other people around you who you could trust these people suddenly stab you in the back and you know, turn their back on you or do something terrible to you. They might, if they are not elevated enough to not be brainwashed, manipulated, pulled into some cult, tricked by what's put out in media, whatever. They absolutely can be by the spiritual influencers who are the ones that are planted to trick you into following a false spiritual path. There are fucking tons of them. They are very, very, very popular. Shit tons of people follow them. And no, I'm not going to tell you any goddamn names. You know why? You need to do the work on yourself to figure it out for yourself. That's why. You need to elevate enough to start reading subtle energies to figure it out for your damn self. That is how you don't get tricked and pulled into false spiritual influencers, into the brainwashing. But let me tell you, they always fucking put it out right in front of you. They always are hidden in plain sight. That is one of the biggest clues. If you're like, what the hell are you wearing today? Why are you dressed up in a devil mask today? Because they're telling you what they fucking are, people. They are telling you what they are. Plain sight. They're telling you without telling you. And if you have not found the power of your voice, your energetic divine power inside of yourself, if you don't have the power to set boundaries with people in your everyday life, you sure as hell won't set boundaries with someone like that. So there you have it. It all comes down to you, number one, healing yourself. First and foremost, you have to heal your wounds, your traumas, your programs. Okay? That is the biggest protection you have against evil and darkness and all the shit we're talking about today. Number two, You have to elevate enough and be willing to learn what spirituality is and all aspects of mysticism is for real, not to play around with to get popular and show yourself, to get in. You can become an influencer too, to gain the followers and make money from it. That isn't the core source of why any enlightened person does anything that she does. And it never means there is anything wrong with what may come with that, but it isn't your driving reason for doing what you do. Do you see the difference? It is never your driving reason. I don't do what I do in the world to become a multimillionaire. It doesn't even make any sense. I do what I do in the world to help awaken this planet and help all beings on this planet, animals, humans, you name it. I do what I do because I am a teacher. This is what I am here to do. This is my soul's mission. That's why I do what I do. In the human experience, any benefit that comes from that makes my life more abundant in all ways, fucking great. That's the human experience. Hello. Fabulous. Welcome that shit and don't deny that for yourselves. Why the hell would you deny that? Oh, because you're brainwashed. That's right. From false, spiritual, and religious fucking teachers and influencers. That's part of the brainwashing. Welcome in what you deserve to have. Welcome in what you receive because of the way of purity that you are, because of the way of wisdom that you are. Do you understand the difference? But anything related to the human self, to the materialistic self, is never your driving force when you're truly coming from the way of purity. It's not why I do anything I do. It's just, hey, I get to have fun and have this thing in my life because of the teacher that I am, for example. That's fun. That's amazing. Well deserved and earned. Not the driving force. Do you see the difference? Now, that's one of the hardest things to see the difference in other people. But you don't have to, your mind doesn't have to figure that part out. Because here's where people get screwed up all the time. You should never have a lot of money if you're a real spiritual teacher. That's so fucking part of the brainwashing. Oh my God. And yet, most of the people that are of the false light, they have all the money in the fucking world, don't they? Ooh, that's for a whole nother topic. I was going to cut this one short today. I went longer than I planned to. If you want to know more about that, write it in the comments because I can dive into an episode on that. So why do a certain few have all the money? And yet it's not true. It's the false light to think that the teachings that if you're poor and you renounce everything, you're somehow more spiritual. That's how they take all of your money from you. Hello. It's ridiculous. There is enough abundance for every single human being and being on this planet to thrive in every way, in every abundant way. Hoarding it for a select few is part of the control to keep you all in suffering. Think about it. So you don't say these stupid, ridiculous, ignorant things like money is the root of all evil. Of course they want you to believe that so that you won't ever want enough of it. And you'll be happy to give it all away. Hello. Hidden in plain sight. It's all right in front of you. And yet part of living is to give money away. It's a constant flow of giving, receiving, giving, receiving, giving, receiving. That's the wheel of motion, energetic motion of financial abundance. Giving, receiving, investing in yourself, paying for things and spending money on things and giving money away and receiving money. If you're only receiving, you're out of balance, you're unconscious. If you are only giving, you're out of balance, you are unconscious. You're in separation consciousness. I give everything away. Why the fuck would you do that? You only have this particular lifetime once. Why would you give everything away and not enjoy anything? And that doesn't mean things make you happy. Happiness comes from within. It doesn't mean, as incarnated as a human, that there's anything wrong with enjoying the things that are here to enjoy. So I know it gets complicated, doesn't it? How do you pick all of these things out and know who the hell to trust? You don't from the level of mind. Got to reinforce that and hit that home one more time. You cannot from the level of mind. Overwhelming, it's too much. You'll never figure it out. Sometimes you'll be right. Most of the time you'll be wrong, likely. You don't figure this shit out from the level of mind. You become. This is a becoming. You become each and every universal way of oneness. That is an energetic frequency that you vibrate at, you resonate at. And this is what protects you from the darkness and the evil. Evil cannot touch you when you vibrate at certain frequencies. Do you understand? And it doesn't mean they can't still try to come after you and the people around you. That's what they do all the time. They go after your friends, your family members, your closest loved ones. That's what they do. That isn't to scare you. Hello? Wake up for real. This is awakening. Of course, that's how they work. To fear you and intimidate you into submission so that you are powerless and you don't connect to your power. That's part of the programming. Every individual soul, don't care who they are to you. I don't care who they are to you. Your spouse, your best friend of 20 years, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your business partner of 18 years now. I don't care who they are to you. They are an individual being who has free will choice. And they can wake up for real too. They have to choose it and put in the willingness and the devotion to wake up for real and protect themselves from being tricked and manipulated and have evil entities attached to them and all the shit that happens to people because they're unwilling to do the real work on themselves. You want to protect yourself for real? Do the real work on yourself and wake up, heal, elevate, get to a higher level of consciousness. Stop trying to be fucking special. Stop going for the influencer and trying to get followers and shit. Just be authentically you and wake up and be a more elevated you today than you were yesterday, knowing tomorrow I'm going to be even higher tomorrow because I won't stop until I'm fully enlightened, because I'm here to help heal this goddamn planet and raise the vibrational frequency of this entire planet and all the beings on it. I am that powerful because I am what I am. And that is every one of us has that power. So get to it. Get to work. Invest in yourself. Learn from the teachers who are here to help you become that powerful. And achieve it because you can. You can achieve that. Everybody can achieve that. But you have to be willing and devoted. And if you think it's going to happen in a week or a month or even a fucking year, wake up. There's too much brainwashing and evil and darkness on this planet for this to be a quick process or just a weekend retreat with somebody. It's way more devotion than that, guys. It is. We have a lot to heal and change in this world. And I know if you're listening to me, you are one of the warriors who's meant to do it. So do it to whatever degree you can do it. And if you can't invest enough to help yourself the way you wish you could help yourself, it's okay. Don't let that stress you out. Don't you dare go into that. It will happen for you. Just do what you can. Why do you think at Masters of Self University, we provide 2 freaking podcasts a week, every damn week? You get 2 episodes a week, not just 1. We offer that to you to try to give as much abundance of the free stuff that we can. Join our Discord community. Click our Discord community. Go into that community and join our community. It is free, for Christ's sake. Okay. And one of the things that I'm going to do is offer some free live teachings and community things for that community, that only people in that community. It's free, guys. You can join for free, for crying out loud. And that's one of the things that I'm going to start doing is every once in a while, I'm going to offer you something for free that only people in the community can come to and attend. And then you'll get personal one-on-one time. And it'll be in a group, of course, but you'll get that time from me. All right. And from some of our coaches. So join what you can for free. Buy, study Mason's Way. It's one of the cheapest things you could invest in. Okay? And any other teacher on this planet that is elevated, by the way, if you know for certain they are a truly elevated being and they're here to help you, and it's not this pseudo spiritual bullshit. If you really know they're an elevated teacher, do the same thing. Take advantage of every free stuff they have, invest in the little bit that you can, do the same thing, and then save up until you can invest in more to help you. Okay? That doesn't go for just me or Masters of Self University. That's for every true elevated teacher or organization on this planet that is here offering their piece of the puzzle to help this entire world elevate. Okay? I just want you to understand you have to be careful, because there are a lot of people that just want to feel special because they're fucking spiritual and they want to make money off of you, and they're not elevated enough to be doing what they're doing. Okay? They lack the way of responsibility. That is never a goddamn judgment. But we are missing the ways of oneness from this planet for the most part, even though they're starting to deactivate and coming back. It's not about just, oh, I want to help people and then I can make money off of it. You should be elevated enough to help people before you start helping people, or you're not actually helping people. Okay? There is also beautiful people. They're going to be at different levels and helping people at different levels. Not every person is going to be totally enlightened when they help you. Do not misunderstand what I'm offering to you. There are some people who teach at the 4th grade level, and they are masters of 4th grade level. And that means if you are in 4th grade, they're an amazing teacher to learn from. Learn from them. They're a beautiful being offering their piece of the puzzle on this planet. Learn from them. And then realize once you've mastered 4th grade, you'll likely grow out of them because they're 4th grade. And you've now moved on to 5th and then 6th. And then now you're entering college, right? You're growing and expanding. And you'll find the teachers that are at those more elevated levels along the way. And you realize, oh, I learned from him and it was great. But I now see all the ways that that person only functions in like elementary school. I don't want to function in elementary school. I want to go all the way. I want to be an initiate of oneness consciousness. And so you go and you elevate higher and you find the teachers that can take you there. Do you understand? Never are you coming from the vibrational frequency of superiority, judgment. None of that should exist. And any initiate of oneness consciousness, you're learning how not to come from those energies. And yet you also learn, oh, there is a hierarchy. There just isn't the hierarchy that exists in the 3rd dimensional bullshit patriarchy cult world that teaches you the hierarchy is the person that's top is superior to you and the best and deserves everything and you deserve nothing. That's fucking psychotic. But that's what you get when you listen to that definition of hierarchy. That's bullshit. But do you see how hierarchy exists? There's a little crumb of the truth. See how they do it? Spiritual hierarchy, of course it exists. No different than the analogy I've given a million times over and a dozen times just in this episode alone. A person teaching at a doctorate level, yep, they're at a higher level than a kindergarten teacher. They are. Doesn't make them superior. No, because what you learn in kindergarten is priceless. And if you don't learn that, you'll never achieve the doctorate level. Hello? This is oneness, for crying out loud. There's no superiority here. But there is a hierarchy. Of course there's a hierarchy. See it? Okay. So I really hope this has helped you a little bit. Truly awakening. Just being aware of things doesn't mean that you're not riddled with anxiety and fear. And an awakening being, oh, look at that. Some fears showing up. Let's go into that and understand that program. How old am I? Do the work, alchemize, heal. And when you can get that foundation, which is our base foundation that we offer and teach and coach at Masters of Self University, you're then ready to start receiving the universal ways of oneness. What way of oneness am I lacking right now? That's when you're ready to expand way more elevated at that level. What way of oneness am I lacking? What way of oneness do I need to become in this moment to become more powerful? And then you learn how to energetically become that way in your interactions, in your communication, in your teaching, in your coaching, in your doing business with people, having partnerships with people, friendships, whatever it is, every aspect of your life. You show up as the universal ways of oneness, and you have the awakened awareness now. Oh, see that? The awakened awareness now of where you're lacking a certain way of oneness in any given moment, and then your willingness to become that way of oneness that you're lacking. So you become that, you're safe. No evil can touch you or harm you. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.